All right. Welcome, everybody, to the 2-minute tax return review. And we also said, also known as how to touch source documents only once, because those are the two benefits that you're going to get from following the process that Rob has today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let him get going because there's a lot to cover. And I think it's going to be super fun. So Rob, go ahead.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, basically, this is who I am. Essentially, I've owned my own firm, rolled it a bunch of times, and every time when I was the most successful is when I created a process that I could put anybody in and get the same consistent results that basically were the same results that I would expect for myself. And that worked really, really well. And what I'm hoping to do is pass some of these ideas on to you. And some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today, it's going to come out from left field. This is a new way of thinking, but it works. Just trust me, it works. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so like I said, back in 1998, I bought an accounting firm. I overpaid for it, but I overpaid for it because the client list was I was getting $40 a tax return. Low fees, no technology, but I had great employees. And they were awesome. Terry and Cindy were the best employees I could have. But as I went on, I was not able to hire those good employees as I grew. And I was not allowed to rely on the employees getting the work done. So when I brought in new people, for the new people and the new staff to work as well as those great employees that I had, the only thing that worked was creating a process and putting somebody who did not know as much in that process to make the process enable them to achieve as well as my long-term staff. Okay, this idea has been around for years. It's all about eMyth. eMyth works, but you need to do it. Okay, so take a look at your current staff. Okay, you may have some admin and newer staff. Those are plentiful. You can find those all over the place. Finding experienced staff is becoming harder and harder. By the time you train somebody, they're gone. And if you're working in a small town, if you're working more of a rural area, not only for a while, it was great because your employees weren't able to, there wasn't many places for them to work, so they weren't going to go anywhere. But now they're getting picked up by bigger cities because everybody can be remote now. So how are you going to go in there? And I was just talking to somebody and their staff is getting picked by big city, by big cities. They're going to possibly have to outsource to India this year because they can't find seasoned staff to do the work. You can't rely on human capital anymore. It's not working, okay? And at the end, how can you even turn seasoned staff into somebody as good as you? It's tough because they don't do it the same way you do it. So it's inconsistent. This is what we are experiencing today in the accounting industry, okay? But the key is, how can you take somebody that's new, inexperienced, train them to seasoned, time and money? You can hire them, but that's expensive. But even then, they don't know everything about your clients, and then ultimately reach up to you. Okay, this is what we're all talking about. Okay, this is the issue. This right here is the problem we're all facing. Okay, how do we go about doing it? It's all about systems. It truly is. You can't rely on humans. It's all about the system. So what we're going to talk about today is a system and attributes that you need to put into your system to make the system bring anybody up who does not have the skill set and give them the knowledge to work at a high level. Okay, because at the end of the day, scarcity of staff and the value of your time. That's what we're going to be focused on. It's all about minimizing your time and being able to lift up somebody who doesn't know as much as you do. That's what this whole thing's about. Okay, so first we're going to look at the 1040 data grid. Now you can use a 1040 data grid or you don't have to. The key here though is I would suggest using it, but if you don't, look at the attributes that the 1040 grid brings in and make sure that your process has those same attributes. Then I'm going to talk about some more attributes that your system should have, because a better system yields better staff, which yields better results. And then how do we get there? Okay. And then right here on that link that we just showed you, there's a grid right here that's going to talk about all the different attributes. Bring that up, copy it, download it, paste it into OneNote or Word, and type right next to it, and put in all of your pros and cons of your firm, and see how do you rank with all these different attributes that I'm talking about to help you get to that 2-minute review. Okay. And then there's going to be a place where we're going to be able to sit there and implement everything that we're doing. Okay. So let's actually jump to it. This right here is the 1040 data grid. It is going to make your review super simple. It's going to make preparation super simple. And ultimately, the best thing to do is to hire some admin person or low-level staff to take every document and drop it in a perfect order for both the preparer and the reviewer. Could you imagine having everything laid out in the exact order for the review? Just all you have to do is scroll right down. It's like, it's just laid out in a perfect place for you to do it. And not only that, it's going to have places for you to take notes. Okay. And it's all about the upfront time. Might it take maybe a little bit longer initially to get this going? Yes. But if you can push time spent down the staff ladder to somebody whose time is not as valuable as yours, because what I'm trying to do here is minimize your time, minimize an experienced preparer's time by pushing it to somebody less experienced. And that's what we're going to basically do. Okay. And doing this, it's going to end up being a better tax return, because you're going to be more consistent, more accurate, and you can actually then spend the right amount of time necessary. Because if you're basically going and you're not efficient and you're not effective, mistakes are going to be made no matter how good you are. Okay. So really, what is the system? Okay. It's what I really want you to OneNote. It's sitting in OneNote. You can also do Google. I've got a whole section on how you can do this in Google. But really, OneNote is nothing but a virtual filing cabinet. All I'm doing is going back to the 80s. What we're doing here virtually is what we used to do back in the 80s. We had a filing cabinet, which this right here is the filing cabinet. We had a drawer. All my B clients are in the B drawer. We had a manila folder right here, Mike and Carol Brady. And then we had the pages and the papers in the folder. So all these were papers, either a single page or papers that were stapled together in a manila folder, in the drawer, in the filing cabinet. That's all it is. That's all it is. Okay, so this is just a virtualization of what we used to do. We used to cut stuff out and tape it on a sheet of paper. We would staple stuff together. We'd put it in manila folder. This is a virtualization of what we used to do. Okay. So it also comes in Google. Okay. And I've got a class in the Grove, which will explain how to get to the Grove later, but you can do the same thing in Google. Okay. So these are the 10 features that the 1040 data grid is going to give you. Okay. So let's jump right into it. First of all, it's going to put everything in the exact order for you to review it. Because when the client gives you information, I almost sometimes hate when the client gives me information on a sheet of paper, because I'm going to sit there and I'm going to check it, but it's constantly going back and forth and they don't put in the exact order. So I'm constantly going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and matching different stuff out of order. This slows you down as a reviewer. This really slows you down as a reviewer. So guess what we're going to do? We're not going to accept the client's order. We're going to go in and think back in the 80s, and we're going to cut this sheet of paper up. Okay, we're going to virtually cut this sheet of paper up, and we're going to then put it in the exact order for you to review it just like that. Remember, I'm trying to minimize your time, and so you can just scroll right down the page in the exact order of the return and just tick and tie and just one smooth, fluid piece. We're going to be able to do that by virtually cutting them out by using a simple screen clip. So somebody spends the time putting the exact order for you, you can crank through it. That's what we're doing. We're trying to focus on your time savings. Okay. And it's as simple as, instead of cutting it out and taping it, it's faster to do a screen clip. You can do a screen clip in less than a second. Okay. That's what we're doing. It's a simple screen clip. Okay. We're going to be able to match related documents, because inside here, we've got, like, this over here is Schedule E. This right here relates to my Schedule E. Well, guess what? I have a 1098 that relates to this information. But before, think about yourselves, you got a PDF sitting over here, and you got to scroll down over to here and then match the two up. So the amount of time for it takes you to scroll and to line those two up, you don't have to do that, because somebody went in and they screen clipped this piece right here and dropped it right here. And then they just screen clip the related 1098 right here. So all you have to do is look over 4 inches. Okay, all you're doing is looking 4 inches and you're matching these numbers and saying, yep, that number's correct. And then you move on. It's that simple. Okay, same thing with Schedule A. There's Schedule A, there's a 1098, match it up side by side. So you can either do it horizontally or vertically. Okay. But it's going to save you a lot of time. And also it's going to make sure that it's obvious that only 4 inches apart, you're going to notice errors a lot easier than if they're on 2 separate pages. Okay. Then I've got something called the Grand Central Station. Think of how much time you spend browsing to another location that is just for your client, whether it's real estate taxes, whether it's the files here, whether it's the location over here, whether it's the CRM over here, whether it's the task management over here. Nowadays, we've got so many different places to go, and you spend so much time browsing through all of your halls and nooks and cranny ways to get to where it is. Could you imagine being just one click away? Okay, so right here, everything that you would ever need to go is sitting basically right there. Okay, every hyperlink right there. No more favorites, no more File Explorer. I almost never used, by the time I left my firm, I almost never used File Explorer. All I did was click this link right there and it took me to exactly where to go. Okay. And then also I had a little place right here to add notes that didn't really go anywhere. Okay. A lot of stuff that we have, it's structured. You have a place to put things, but where do you put something where there's not a place for it? You create a junk drawer or you keep it scattered across your entire life. That doesn't work. So by having this Grand Central Station, you're able to come in there and create custom areas to store information that has no other place to go. But you know where it's at, so you can immediately jump to it and then put the information and then leave. So you come, add it, and then leave. Meanwhile, everybody knows where it's at, and it's so quick, you're going to actually do it. Consistency. Consistency is another big reason to do this. Okay. There is an urban legend that some farmer was really upset with the IRS and basically wrote his 1040 on the side of the cow and submitted his cow. I don't think that was true. When I actually did a research on it, it was about a check. And then even then that really wasn't true. But I think it kind of, the story kind of serves a purpose. Could you imagine how difficult it would be for and how backed up the IRS would be if they actually, if everybody could submit their own 1044? It would be disaster. That's why people create forms. Consistency, you know where to look. People know where to put something. If you think about right now, you get work papers from multiple staff members, every work paper is different. And you as a reviewer have to sit there and manage inconsistent work papers. Could you imagine consistent work papers and how that would be easier for you to follow, but more importantly, for somebody new coming in? If you got a new staff, it's easier to follow consistent work papers than for them to create their own or follow 3 different people that are all different. Okay, so you want consistency of your work paper format. And you also want consistency amongst client nuances. I can't tell you how many mistakes were made because people did not know that we had this particular expense allocated in this percentages. It wasn't written in a place that everybody knew where it was. So they either just made it up, missed it, or they spent way too much time trying to find it out. So by having consistency, you're going to be able to carry over those client nuances year from year and be consistent and accurate. So we want to be consistent. Okay. The current status. Okay. This one right here is basically one of the things that we're going to talk about going forward is flattening the tax season. Most people for years, what do? We wait until we get all the documents and then we start the return because it's too inefficient to pick up a return, do a little bit of work, put it down, come back later, pick it up, and know where we left off. So you almost have to start over. So what we end up doing is we end up waiting, okay, until we have all the documents, and then we do it, and then just go through it once. The problem though is that pushes all of the work into 1 month. Could you imagine if you could do a little bit when you have time, put it down, come back and know exactly where you're at? And by going in there and by color coding this, okay, essentially what you're doing is if you screen clip something and put it in the grid and it's not highlighted, that means it's not been entered in the tax software. As soon as you enter in the tax software, you mark it blue. When the reviewer comes through and it's reviewed, they mark it green. If there's an issue, they mark it yellow. If it's red, it's missing. Okay, just today I was meeting with somebody and he basically took this tax season and did 3 extension returns this way. And his first comment, he was like giddy about it almost. His first comment was, I worked on a return, set it down for 3 days, came back. And because of the color coding, he knew exactly where he had left off. And he just did not miss a beat. So he stepped away from something for 3 days and stepped right back into it, just like he was working on it. And this is how you're going to flatten out your tax season and turn it into 8-hour days. Okay, side by side. This year 1, you don't get it in year 1, year 2. Okay, future you. This is who we're doing this for, future you. Could you imagine having side by side work papers? Okay, what are you doing now? You've got work papers up on one screen, you got one papers over on this screen, you're sitting there scrolling. There's no way to get good side by side work papers. In this format right here, on the far right, you have the previous year. The middle column here, you have the current year. You can see what's missing. You can see if there's something new this year. You can see if one form basically is completely different. Like, wow, last year was 100, now it's 12,000. Okay, you're going to be able to see that side by side, all in one view. All right there. It's all basically right there. Variance in forms, everything like this. And think about this. If this is what the form looked like last year, 9 times out of 10, the form looks the same. So if you've got a staff preparing the grid for you, okay, or an admin person, or somebody who's stay at home who's super organized, not even accountant, you can get somebody to go in there, open up the documents, and drop them right in the grid for you. This is what they're looking like. Oh, yep, that looks like last year, so I'm looking for something this year. It's going to make new preparers a lot more accurate and a lot more efficient. Also, yep, Allison.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry, Rob. I just want to give a shout out to Harry, who actually sent me an email to ask me a question on this webinar, which I think is awesome. Harry's question is, I'm watching the webinar, will I be given a copy of the materials? And so I wanted to reassure everybody, because we didn't really start with that, Rob,
Yep.
that all of these materials are on the Grove,
Yep.
which is our new cooperative resource library for accountants and bookkeepers and tax pros. And we're going to give you, oh, Rob's showing it right now. We're going to give you all of this training. It's all available here in step-by-steps. So we're going to make sure that you get your invitation to it, and you can join, and then you'll be able to go really deep on things like this, attend more webinars, what have you, and also take the step-by-step along with the actual downloadables, like the templates and things.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the templates that I'm showing you, you're going to be able to download and just take and start using. And for some reason, the Grove is like, yes, it's not.
It doesn't always like to be shared on Zoom, I think, is the issue.
but either way, though, yes. But everything that I'm going through today, you will be able to follow step-by-step videos. And then if you have a question, you definitely can ask questions inside the Grove, and I will answer them, and then we will go from there.
Yep.
Okay. So the other thing here is, think of all the excess garbage that you have to wade through when doing a return. Okay, you get a K1, it's 12 pages. Only 2 of the pages actually matter. You get a super long brokerage statement. Most of it you don't need to see. You only need 3 or 4 things out of it. Okay, think of how much time, instead of leaping through stuff you don't need to see, you get to just the information that you need. So you're going to have somebody, basically pull out just the information you need, so you can do the review. But don't worry, we're going to be able to create a hyperlink back to the original document, so you can scan through it to make sure nobody overmissed anything. So this is really the best of both worlds. You can focus on the important stuff, but you're just one click away from seeing all the detail. And that's the key. You look at it only if you need to look at it, because if it's a brand new person, you're going to want to look at it. If it's somebody experienced that that's not going to miss things, chances are you're just going to look at what they've clipped and go from it. And also, you're going to have what was happened last year. So then that way people are going to make sure that they clip everything that they need. Because I need the summary here, I need the summary here, but I need to see this detail. Because I got to pull out the investment expenses. Well, and that's buried way down here. Well, this is what it looked like last year, side by side, everything like this. You see how you're looking at just what you need. So now you're lasering in on just everything that you need. And that's really cool. Touching each document once. Think of how many times, I wish there was a way to track how many times a PDF was opened during tax season. 10, 20, a dozen times. Each doc is probably opened a dozen times. You open it, close it, review it, opens it, close it, constantly going back and forth, right? And that's basically what this is. You open it, close it, open it, close it, open and close it. Okay. But really, what do you need? You need the PDF. And here's the thing, paradigm shift right here, paradigm shift. You do not need the PDF. PDFs is a 4-letter word. Okay. You do not need the PDF. You need the picture of the form on the PDF. That's what you need. So what we're going to do is you're going to screen clip the information out of the PDF and drop it right where it needs to be. And then you don't need the PDF. It still can be there. You can still save it just in case, but you don't need the PDF. And that's the first, as soon as you get to that you do not need the PDF. The PDF is the box that the form came in. You cut the form out of the PDF. You take the PDF out of the box and put it right where it belongs. That's all you need. Now, don't worry. You can link back to the PDF if you want, but you don't have to. And once you free yourself of that, life will be easy. Okay. And here's the thing. If you were to go through and print all these pages on the PDF where they came from, it was close to 45 pages. Some people still like paper. Some people still like to review off of that. And that's okay. I get it. I still print sometimes too. But this entire thing right here printed down to a little over 5 pages. And then they reviewed off of this. And then they scanned that back in, and that was their final work paper documents. Okay. So you still can print a PDF. And you can also do this for long-term storage. This is a permanent record of your work papers. And you can also send this to the client and say, hey, look, this is what you gave me last year. So really, this could actually serve, instead of 50 pages, it's 6. It's manageable. It's concise. It's just what you need. Okay, so we can still print to a PDF and then ultimately print it to paper. Because essentially, this is what it was, condensed down to this. Same information, but just what you need. Right now, you're looking at this when you can be looking at this. Okay, so that is the 1040 data grid. Once again, you'll be able to go into the Grove. You'll be able to take a look at it. Okay, and you'll be able to follow it. Okay, and here are the other, this right here is the summary of all the benefits that we basically talked about. Okay, and on that form right there, so if we come back over to that form, we click right here. This is the form right here. It basically takes you to a Word document. And let me, because this actually logged me into something that's logged in, let me actually log into a guest one. If you click on the link, it'll come up into here. It'll look like this. And then if you click download right there, it'll download the Word document. You can then open it up and then edit the Word document. Okay. This has got links to join the Grove and where to set up the grid, the dashboard. Here's Google right here. And then, so there's some Google tricks and tips, and there's 2 things down here for Google. So if you're a Google shop, you can basically do that. And then down here are all the questions and the benefits and suggestions that I think that you need to implement in your process to be able to get to a consistent process, a 1040 process that focuses on making sure that your time spent, the reviewer's time spent, is minimized, and you're enabling newer staff. It's the ends. Everything, if you look at the extremes, that's where everything is. The stuff in the middle, 9 times out of 10, it's the stuff on the extremes where the problems happen. I'm trying to minimize the time you spend, and I'm trying to basically get new staff to be as efficient and effective as possible, as quickly as possible. Because that middle part, they're not going to be around much longer. Okay? They're either getting older and they're going to retire. Like my dad and mom have been accountants forever. And oh my goodness, guys, they are amazing. They don't make mistakes. They can just do a tax return. You just give it to them, they're going to basically kick them out. My dad was unbelievable. But guess what? I'm not going to be able to replicate my mom and dad. Okay, it's not possible. I'm never going to find somebody who can do a tax return as good as my dad, because he's been doing it for 40, 50 years. Same thing with my mom. But when they retire, who's going to replace them? You're not going to find a human to replace that. So you need a system. And that's what we're talking about today, is a system. So do your systems have these attributes? Go through, write them up, figure it out. And that's what we're going from there. Okay. Okay. So come back over to here. Oop. Okay. So once again, like I just said, it's all about the systems. We're doing this for the systems, the new staff and for you. Okay. It's all eMyth. We've been talking about eMyth for years. This book's been around for years. The problem is we haven't implemented it. And outsourcing, outsourcing to India, automating some new tool. It's all about the systems. You need a system that basically works. So here are 8 more system best practices and suggestions that your system needs. Okay. And you need to think about, does your process allow for this, or are you relying on human capital to deal with it? If it's human capital, you need to get it, and you need to get it systemized. Okay. Because remember, at the end of the day, the more accurate tax return is, the less time it is to review. Okay. And that's just a fact. So we want to be accurate. Because the more review comments, the longer it's going to take to get it fixed, and then longer it's going to take to review. So we want it to be accurate. Okay. Right here, document your client knowledge. Where is the long-term information about that client documented? This is one of the first things that I implemented, was a client dashboard like this. It was a form that had information on it that my new staff did not know. They didn't know if they could call the client or not. They didn't know necessarily where the client files were located. They could browse out to it, but then once you create a hyperlink, they're one click away. There was a bunch of information that my staff didn't know. They had to keep coming bugging me and asking me. And then now they know it. They may or may not remember to next year, but chances are we had new staff coming in during the return next year. So I'm telling this different staff every year the same information. So we created a form. We copied it for all 1,200 1040s, and we rolled it out one tax season at the end of February. And my staff wanted to. So we created a dashboard, and this is in the Grove, but essentially it's just an electronic form. That's all it is. It's an electronic form that you can just immediately search for in OneNote and get right to the form and then start typing your notes. That's the key to it. That's the key to this, is that you can get to this form in half a second and add the information and then leave. That right there is the whole key to everything. If you can't access the information, okay, in 0.7 seconds, that was the name of my company before I joined Listio, 0.7 seconds. If you can't access the information as you're picking up the telephone, it doesn't work. So you access this form, you put the information, but you can come in here and make this form be whatever you want it to be. Do they have, what are their refunds? Do they want to apply it? Or do they want, do they want it back? What's their risk level? Do they have identity theft? If there's information that's unique about that client and you don't have a place for it, a form like this can now hold that information. Okay. What about knowledge of the software? You need to be documenting how to do unique things in your software. Every time that I learn something, we use Lacert. Every time that I learned something, because I was the one pretty much coming with all the processes, people would come and ask me how to do something, and I'd tell them. And I spent half my day telling people what to do and how to do it. So I got sick of that. So I started to create just what, they weren't fancy, but just one simple pages. Like I went in and I learned how to, how do we split an asset in depreciation schedules? Well, I went in here, did a screen clipping, drew this arrow here, put a use case and some facts, printed off the returns on what it would look like, and put that form in there. Now, when anybody would ever want to know, I'd say, look in OneNote. And now I'm still training people at that firm, even though I don't work there anymore, because this is all sitting right there.
Rob, we have a quick question, if you don't mind.
Yep, absolutely.
Bruce is asking, can you mark up the images in OneNote similar to how you do in a PDF?
Yep.
Calculator tapes, tick marks, etc.
Yep.
I know you've got a trick where you do it in Edge.
Yep.
But can you answer Bruce's question there? And then just really quickly, Diane had asked if we earn CPE for these sessions. No CPE is offered at this time.
Yes. Yeah. So basically with that one right there, the thing inside OneNote. Now there is, and that was actually one of the questions that I had with the gentleman today, because he went in there and he started using this draw right in here. Now, in theory, this would work really well. Okay. This would work really, really well, where you can basically come in here and basically mark this up, where you can come in here and mark up. The problem is is that this is actually sitting on a layer above the documents. So if I were to come in here and add a couple rows, you'll see what happens. You see how that marking is kind of sitting on top of this. So no, you can't really mark, it doesn't really attach. It's kind of a layer on top of the documents. So no, you cannot.
It's better to do it in the PDF when you're bringing it over, right? And you're going to show that process, right?
Yes, yeah. You're going to actually do that in Edge where you can mark it up over there. And with the calculator tape and everything like that, there are two things you can do. One, you can come in here and actually you can actually do calculations right inside here, like this. So you can actually do calculations inside there. But in that case right there, I recommend that you actually link to an Excel file, and all of your documents and all of your calculations are sitting in Excel, because this is consistent. And I hate TickTide calculate. I don't want to see random. It's like, I don't like to see TickTide calculate on different places like this. I would want it over here because it's more consistent. And to me, you know everything that you need to enter because it's basically right there. So I have this on one screen, I have this over here. And if you want to basically, you can still even screen clip the information here and put that right over there. But essentially what you're doing is you're systematizing and you're consistent. You're making all of your TickTide calculates consistent by just coming in there and putting that information like that. Okay. But yeah, you cannot mark up inside OneNote, not yet. I don't know if they're working towards that, but right now you can't. So do not use the draw on there. That doesn't work. Okay. Okay. So back over to here, make sure you're documenting your software on how to do things. So then that way new staff can learn just as easily as you don't have to keep teaching the same thing over and over and over again to new staff. Okay. Here's the key. Don't train one-on-one. Stop training one-on-one. Create a document and tell the staff to look it up. This will initially slow you down, but you need to slow down to speed up. And until you do that, you're never going to get ahead of the game. You're just going to keep patching holes and it's not going to work. Okay. This right here is what I really, really like. Okay. Besides the side-by-side, this right here is really the key to everything. Okay. And there's going to be pros and cons to everything in life. But this right here is the key to everything, is documenting your knowledge right on the form. Okay. So here, let's assume that you've got a form and it's got a withholding on a place that there normally isn't any withholding. Because you'll know there's the occasional form that's got some random thing that's not normal. That's really easy to overlook. Guess what? You're going to come in and put notes right there to make sure that to prepare for next year, because all these notes are going to carry over year to year. You're going to put a reminder for next year's staff to say, don't miss this. So if somebody makes a mistake, okay, and they miss something, you come over and put, don't make this mistake. It's going to remind next year's person not to make the same mistake. So I can't tell you how many times staff makes the same mistake year over year. You're fixing the same problems year over year, okay? 90% of the stuff's easy. We're talking about the 10% that's missed and is hard and that's unique. Okay, so document it right there. Okay, what about data entry? Well, this gets entered on this screen and that screen. Okay, there's weird things, not everything, but the stuff that's really hard, the stuff that if you have to look it up, or you know that an experienced person has to look it up, just tell them right here that you entered on screen 2A. Put a screen clipping to where it's at, or maybe link to a page to document on how to do it. You can link right to that. Remember that split asset page? Link right to it and say, hey, look, if you have to split an asset, because you know that happens often, just link to the page. And then that way, right here's the instructions on how to do it. And you can add it for each client and each tax return, everything right there. So if you have to look it up, you better pass that information. Remember, we're blazing a trail for next year. Clear the path. Too many people, they go through the jungle and they don't clear a path. And the next person walks and has to clear their own path. It's ridiculous at how much work we're doing over and over again and then destroy prior year knowledge. And we start from scratch. Accountants are the hardest. It's like we like working hard for some reason. We don't want to work easy. We have this thing about us where we're like, oh my gosh, we've got a badge of honor that we work so hard. We need to, no, let's work easier. Let's work smarter. So clear the path and help out the next person. Okay. And then client specific. Where do you put the information that on their telephone bill, we split 50-50 between Schedule C and Schedule E, or whatever you're doing? Where's that information documented so it's obvious, it's not missed, it's consistent, and we don't have to spend 10 hours or 10 minutes looking for it or calling you up and saying, hey, what do we do about this? Okay. Most of the questions, time wasters, are these client nuances that we don't have any place to put. Yes, Alison?
Well, we do have a couple more questions. Sorry.
Yep. Okay.
So I think there's just a little teeny bit of confusion about what software I'm using to get the side by side.
Okay.
And then Donald is saying this is in OneNote. So it's all in OneNote.
Yes.
And it's basically just a trick, and you're using tables essentially.
Yes.
Right?
And yes, I've got about 3 more things that I'm going to sit down and we're going to just sit in OneNote. I'm going to just show you everything. So right now I'm focusing on all the benefits that I want you to have.
But this took me, I want to make sure everybody understands. This took me a little bit to sort of understand the concept. It's really just a magic trick with tables. That's really it is. It's a table inside OneNote, and just as you can insert columns, you can insert columns, and you can insert rows. And so just think about, so you already know like how to do all this. He's going to show you in a second.
Yep.
But it looks fancier really than it
It
looks
really,
harder. It looks harder than it really is, doesn't it?
Yes, that is the case. Okay. Also use checklists. Make sure you're using checklists for new preparers, new clients, everything like this. Focus on checklists. Okay. Flatten out your tax season. This is what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to come in, have your clients send you the information as soon as they start getting it. Okay. January, boom, send in the information. Okay. You're going to get somebody to process and drop the stuff into the grid for you as soon as it starts coming in. Okay. You're going to be able to train somebody to start dropping in every document into the grid as it's coming in. You're going to be able to go in there, look at it, see what's still missing. Go, yep, I still want to wait for a couple more things. Maybe send them a message, let them know. But then as soon as you're ready, you can even start entering half the return. Because like, you know what? I just want to sit there and do some simple data entry, enter it in. Mark it. You're going to know where you're going to pick. Remember the gentleman I said before, he was able to step in 3 days later and step right back into it. So what we're doing is we're going to stretch all the work out, whether through other people or just yourself, and stretch it out and be able to flatten out tax season. So we're not all crammed into the last month and waiting for everything to work. Okay. That's the key. We're going to flatten out tax season by being able to, as soon as they get it, they send it in. As soon as it comes in, you process it when you have time. You open the document once, you never touch it again. You reach out. What if they send you the wrong thing? Guess what? You're reaching out in January and letting them know they made a mistake instead of April. And that's going to save a lot of time and a lot of headache, isn't it? Okay, and you're going to spread the work out. This is how you're going to work. But the key is that the clients need to send you the information as soon as possible, and you got to do it as it comes in. Okay. And in this case right here, we recommend you can use whatever you want, but we recommend you use the Listio information queue. Think of getting things done. Okay. One place for every piece of information for the entire tax return. That's the whole idea of getting things done. One funnel for every piece of information that you're going to need, whether it's a document or a fact, to get the job done. One place to look. And that's what that is. And then and you just walk through it right from there. Also, make sure you're flagging each issue. Okay. We used to have those little flags. You can basically do this in OneNote or in Google by using either tags or comments. Okay. So make sure you're flagging each issue so you can just go in there and search for them and immediately find everything. And OneNote and Google handle these beautifully. So you're not overlooking something. You're not sending in emails saying, here's 10 things that are wrong. And then where in the heck are they? Well, guess what? You can electronically flag everything so the person goes right to where they go. Okay. So do you have a flag that notates every issue that needs to be dealt with? Okay. And then also handling missing information. This is one of the biggest problems, the biggest time wasters, the biggest things that slow the return from getting out is dealing with and managing all the communications around missing information. So internally, how are you handling it internally? And how do you handle the communications with the client? You need a really tight system that does this really, really well. Okay. Because if not, this is going to be one of the big milestones that are going to keep you from getting that out the door. And the sooner you can basically say, hey, listen, you sent it to me wrong, instead of waiting until April 5th or April 6th when you started the return, you could get that question in January or February. It's going to be a lot easier for them to get the information, so you're not extending it and going forward. Okay, because could you imagine not having to extend things? We can actually get our summers back. Oh my God, that'd be beautiful. Okay, this is a huge time waster. Okay, suggest best practice, make it obvious what's missing. You're going to have a place up here where you're going to be able to put all of the links to everything that's missing. Okay, have one location that's accessible by the entire staff. Once again, Listio has got a tasks tab where you can consolidate all internal and external communications of something that needs to be done in one place. Okay, so you want one location to make sure that every task, every missing piece is all sitting right there. So you're not scattering emails and looking at multiple different places to make sure that everything's been done. Okay, and then also right here, you can use the color coding. Red is stop. I can't move forward because I'm missing some information. Okay, so there's 3 ways you can sit there and make sure that these things stand out, because this is going to be one of the biggest things to keep you from getting that return out the door. Okay, tracking summer ideas. In this case right here, I just had everybody put the word summer next to their idea. I could search for the summer, and basically it was amazing how many summer ideas. We had so many summer ideas we couldn't even deal with everything. Nowadays, I realize we don't want any more work, but this was back in the day when we actually were able to get stuff done, and actually had summers where we were looking for work to do. Okay, but that was the good old days, I guess. But basically, you want to keep track of, are you keeping track of different ideas? So these good ideas while you're in the return, planning ideas, basis issues. Let's work on their basis issue in the middle of summer instead of middle of tax season. Where are you tracking that to make sure that you can actually do the work out of tax season? Okay, so make sure you have a system to basically do that. Okay, review comments. Review comments are goldmine. I was talking to somebody who uses Loom. She actually goes through, she does a Loom video while she's talking about the return for training people. That's brilliant. And then she's then turned some Looms actually into training videos. So whether it's just sitting there walking through somebody, she said that worked really good, especially for newer staff, to really get them up to speed. So she was actually telling them what to do and giving some training on the side. So that really, and then you can link back to that Loom video for next year. So then that way you saw Loom video. So you can actually maybe, almost basically solve the problem next year by having somebody review comments before if they don't understand it. So you're actually telling 2 people in 2 different years through the same Loom video. Okay, if it's linked, if it's available, if it's right there. Okay, but the key is track the stuff, make sure it's available. Okay, and here's the problem. We need to fix the link. Stop just patching it, fix the link instead of just wiping up the mess that keeps happening each and every year. Okay, slow down. I know it's hard, but you're never going to get ahead. We tell our clients all the time, work on your business, not in it. You need to listen to what we preach. Okay, so focus on your business. Don't constantly work in it. Okay, once again, like before, I talked about this before, use Excel more efficiently. Tick-tack calculate is temporary. A 10-key tape isn't consistent. Use Excel. There's stuff we can do with Excel. We can use conditional formatting, use Excel, link right to it, and it's going to make it a lot easier to do it. Also, one comment with Excel, this is newer. The old comments are now new notes, notes, and comments. You can actually come in here, and I could actually come in here. Let's say this number was incorrect, and I wanted Allison to know about it. I could actually go in there, add a comment, and say at Allison, and Allison would get an email saying, hey, Allison, can you fix cell B4? Okay, that's new in Excel if it's sitting in SharePoint or OneDrive. Okay, so know that this is a little Excel tip. Comments, you can at people and keep track of them. Notes are what the old comments were. Okay, so those are the 8 systems and best practices there. Now let's actually take a look at what we're talking about. So we talked about all the benefits. We talked about everything like this. Okay, and I haven't gone a lot into how to, mainly because there's a ton of step-by-step videos showing exactly how to do it. But this is basically what we're looking at. Okay, so this right here is the form. Okay, so this right here is my filing cabinet, A to L, and I've got another one, M to Z. So I got 2 filing cabinets right there. Inside here, I've got all of my drawers. So now I could browse out to it, but I don't like to browse. I like to just come in here and just search for it. So I can come right in here, type in Brady. So I want to work on Mike Brady's return. I come in here, I see his return, I click on this. This takes me to his dashboard. Right over here are all the pages for Mike Brady. I click on the 1040 grid. This right here hyperlinks to me to everywhere I need to go. I can click this and it links me right to the Excel file. Right there. One click away, I can get to the Excel file. And then there's 2021, 2022, every year is right there. Okay. I don't need multiple years, so I'm just going to use a different tab for each year. I want to get to the Listio information queue. I want to see what documents I need to do to prepare this, because right now you can tell that I've already done last year's return. There's 2021's return. Let's roll this over to next year. Okay.
Rob, this is a great time to answer Cindy's question. She's saying, what is the Listio information queue? Well, Cindy uses Listio, by the way. So Cindy, we don't call it an information queue in Listio. It's the words that Rob is using to describe it. But he's going to show that in action right now. And for those of you who are not using Listio, Listio is a fantastic way to sort of vacuum in documents and all sorts of communications and things from your clients. Instead of having 10 different places to look, you get one place to look. So Rob's going to show you that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So right now I'm using Listio as my one funnel to capture all information. Okay, so that's really what it is. So right now I've got this link right here to what I'm calling the Listio information queue, but all it is the files tab. Okay, so I click on this one right there, and guess what it does? It links me right to the proper account to the files tab right here. And the way I basically got that hyperlink is I just copied this URL right here and pasted that. All I did was Control-C copy, come right into here. Let's remove the link. So right there, I didn't have a hyperlink. All I did was double click on it, right click, link, and then paste that URL right there and hit OK. So I browsed out one time. Now I have a hyperlink from now until till forever, where I'm one click away from getting to the Listio file tab. Think of how many clicks and browse throughs that's going to save you, because it's boom, it's right there. Okay, so now I'm here. So now this is what I'm calling the Listio information queue. Now we've already done the return for this year. Okay, so that's why there's only 3 pieces of information in here. Where's all the 2021 work papers? Well, I've already archived them. So what I did was, I'm going to go into archived. But what I did was, before, when I was working on last year's return, everything that I needed to do this return was sitting in this files tab. The information came from the client. It came from me. Like, for example, let's say I went out there, I went to the real estate taxes on the link right here. I actually went out. Okay. They never give me the real estate taxes. Okay. So I didn't actually, I deleted this one. I deleted this example, but I had the actually. I'm actually going in and looking at a previous one. Let me go in there. Okay, yeah, no, it was on a different example. Okay, so there we go. But either way though, let's say I had some information. I just printed it into Listio Dispatch. Listio Dispatch automatically put it into the information queue. It's kind of like putting information on a green sheet of paper and then putting it in the red weld. But that's really what, let me get back in. It's quicker for me to just come back to the Listio tab, get back to the Listio file than even find out where it's at. But essentially, this files tab right here is my red weld that holds all of the paper until I need to basically work on them. Last year's are archived. As I opened it, each one, I would open it up. I would see it right here. I'm using Edge. Okay. And the reason I'm using Edge is because I can come in and highlight. So for example, I can come in here and highlight this stuff right here. So I can come in and highlight all the information that I wanted. And now all I'm going to do is virtually cut it out and drop it where it belongs. So let's say that I was missing that before. Those are my notes that I was missing it. I can delete that, insert screen clipping, and just come in and just go like that. So all I did was virtually cut that document out of that PDF and drop it right there. It's that simple to be able to bring in a document. And if I need to see it a little bit bigger, I can just scan in and see it a little bit bigger. But it's right there. Now, if I want to save it, I could come in here, hit the save button, browse out to Mike Brady, and then save it. Now it's in as a PDF in my system, but I didn't need that. But if you want it, it's there. But what I did was I virtually printed it out, virtually cut it out, virtually dropped it right in the grid. So when you're doing your Schedule B, it's basically going to be everything right there. Okay. All my notes to carry over year to year to help next year's preparer is all sitting right here. Okay. Everything is basically sitting right there. Okay, also, I've got a link to the original document. So let's say sometimes you did a screen clipping, but you still want to link back to the original document. You can go ahead and click this and it'll link back to this. So it's basically, you've got the best of both worlds. You're looking at just what you need. Okay. Yeah, I apologize if you hear stuff in the background. I've got Alexa, I've got all my devices yelling at me for my calendar. But anyway, okay, now she's really, stop. I'm about ready to throw, okay. I apologize. Oh my gosh, I got to turn Alexa off completely.
Don't say her name. We call her Susie in my household because we don't want to wake her up. Don't say her name.
Yes, good point. Good point. Okay, so we basically come back over to here, and then that's basically where that's at. But essentially, all I'm doing is opening up a document once, marking it up, virtually cutting it out and dropping it in the exact order for the return. Okay, and if you're doing that, okay, if you're doing that and archiving it, so you come in and then you come in and after you've done one, you archive it, it gets hidden from here. This listing right here is what needs to be processed. Now, why are these three things sitting here? Well, you look at this. You see the year over here? This is for 2022. I've already got a closing statement that I'm going to need for 2022. Okay. I've already got some research that I did. Okay. They've got household help. So I was doing some research and I went in and I screen clipped some information. In this case right here, what I did was I screen clipped it, printed it as a PDF into Listio Dispatch. Okay. And all that was when I printed the PDF, I just selected right here. I just selected this folder right here and it automatically brought up Listio. I just said, hey, this goes into the Brady's account. And then it filed it right there. So think about that. I wasn't even in Listio. I just was looking at some information. I was doing research. I did a screen clipping. I printed it to a PDF right into Listio. Listio pops up, says, where would you like to file this? I said the Brady account, and then it sits right here until I'm ready to work on it. So even though I did this research back in April, like let's say, for example, May, I received this in June. Here's some notes that I took from a phone call. I hand wrote the notes, took a picture of it, brought it in. Okay, I used the Listio app, took a picture of it, uploaded it. So I had 3 pieces of random information that happened even before tax season started. This is the key, getting things done. There's a couple principles here. Virtualization, taking the information out of where it is and putting it in the right place, and then storing everything until you're ready to deal with it. It's the combination of those two things. Getting things done, one funnel. This right here, I'm calling it the Listio information queue because this is going to sit here in line until I'm ready to deal with it, no matter whether it comes from the client, whether it comes from a staff member. This is the place for it. Just think about right now, where do you have information? If you learned something, if you had an idea about a client or you got a phone call, where do you put that information that you can guarantee that every single person in your firm will make sure that they don't overlook it? Well, for firms that are using, you need one place, and for firms that are using Listio, they can just save it right here. And it's going to sit here until you do. And then what's going to happen is January is going to roll around. These forms are going to start piling in. And then all you need to do is get somebody to open up each document, screen clip it, drop it, and then archive it. Open it, screen clip it, archive it. Open it, screen clip it, archive it. And just repeat until they're gone. And if there's something that's really tricky, just leave it. And then let the experienced person handle it. But meanwhile, 90% of the stuff is simple. It's sitting there right in the grid. Could you imagine just coming down and saying, here's everything. Now let's roll this over to next year. Okay, here's what we're going to do for next year. Now I could come in here. I could print this. What I would do And I've got instructions on how to do this, but I'm going to go in there. I'm going to print this right there. Okay. I'm going to print that to a PDF and save it in my DMS. That way I have a PDF, solid, can't be changed. This is what I did for the work papers. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go to table, insert to the left. I'm going to come right over here. Left click, drag it, make it a little bit wider. Do the same thing right here. There we go. So all the information, you see this column right here? Column 1 stayed the same, didn't it? All that information that I learned and left a cookie trail for next year, it's all sitting right here. And every year, more and more people are going to come in here and add more stuff. So if not everything was listed here, if somebody else learned something new, they just come right here and said, here is something new I learned.
Yeah, it's pretty, it's amazing.
It just builds upon it. Yep. Okay. Yes, Allison.
Yeah. Well, we're almost out of time, Rob.
Yep.
But Cindy has a great question. Does the link work even if you archive it in Listio after making the link? So yes, it does. It's a permanent link that goes with that document. Donald wanted to see show screen clip in Listio, but that was, I think you did that, didn't you?
Yes. Basically, all I did was bring up a document.
Just show the document on screen.
Show the document here. You come back to OneNote. You just come into here. You go screen clipping, and then just screen clip it just like that.
Yep. And then Diane says, my husband uses OneNote. He said the only issue is sharing OneNote with other people. Not quite sure how to do that.
Well, no, that one right there, you don't want to save it in OneDrive. You do want to save it in a SharePoint. And you can set up a Teams and do SharePoint. I have ways to basically do that. But yes, everybody everybody that's part of my team, that's part of this team, could access it. It's sharing is super simple.
What I was going to say is that we have full training on how to set up Teams in the Grove. Yep. So, so those are great questions, everybody. So how are we doing there on time? What else did you want to show? Also, I have verified that the Grove isn't working right now. Circle has an issue. So you won't be able to bring it up. It'll just spin. So but folks, we're going to send you a link to it. This is the first time this has happened. It's very stable platform. So we're going to send you a link out when we send you the thank you note, the thank you information tomorrow for attending. So you get all of that.
And then what the one thing with that, on this grid, on this work document here, click on the link that takes you to this.
And I put that in the chat. By the way, I put a second document in the chat because I didn't put the right link in the first time.
Okay, yeah. So you should be able to come in here and download this Word file. This gives you all of the benefits. I want you to basically go through and grade your own firm. But then all the links, like right here, this link right there, will basically allow you to join in. This link right here will take you how to do the 1040 grid. This one teaches you how to do the 1040 dashboard. And then here's how to basically do some Google stuff.
Yeah. And if you find that you click those links and they're not, and you come to a blank page like we did, it's not you, it's Circle, the platform that we're on. And this, as I said, this is the first time we'll put in a tech support ticket and get that fixed.
But the one last thing to basically kind of go before we wrap up here, the theory of what I'm doing here, it doesn't work just for 1040s.
That's right.
Basically, it works for everything. Okay, I'm going to sound like ShamWow, like whatever. This works all okay. At the end of the day, I manage information. Other people are managing documents.
Yeah.
I'm taking information out of documents and putting it together to create knowledge. This works for 1040s. This works for personal vacations. This works for bookkeeping. My bookkeeping, if you do bookkeeping, if you come in here and basically do bookkeeping, these are my bank reconciliations. These are my sales tax review work papers with hyperlinks to every place you need to go. Everything that you need. I almost rarely deal with documents because I take the information out of the documents and I put them in virtual 3-ring binders. Everything you need to see, every place you need to go to review this is right there. There's the login. This works great for bookkeeping. This works great for 1040s. Once you master the theory of managing information instead of managing documents, because we've been managing documents for 40 years. And the quote, "You're drowning information, but starve for knowledge," is only getting worse because you focused on documents instead of information. And once you focus on information, your world changes.
That's right. And folks, I reshared that link in the chat, but we will also send it out to you tomorrow. Great. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your nice comments for Rob. I hope that this has been thought-provoking and given you a new concept of using a magic trick of a table
and the one thing, and here's the one thing,
paste.
And here's the one thing that I would like everybody to do. Try this with a handful of returns that you did last year. Just try it. Because once you do it and you get the hang of it, you will come in and you'll be like, "Rob and Allison, that changed my life."
Yeah. Well, I take no credit for this. It's all credits all yours, Rob. All I do is I ask those little silly questions.
And at the end of the day, there's only one wrong way to use OneNote. At the end of the day, there's only one wrong way to use OneNote, and it's not to use it.
Not to use it. Yeah. All right, everybody, we're going to end the webinar now. We will send you the recording tomorrow along with some links. And we do hope that you will take a look at Listio if you're not using it, because it is a fantastic way to get your clients to actually respond in one place, keep everything very organized and secure, and stop all that madness with having to chase clients for documents. And to Rob's point, move everything earlier in the season. And so you have an opportunity now in the run up to the new year to make some changes. And we hope that you will, we hope that you'll seriously consider doing that. All right, everyone. Thank you for your lovely comments. I'll share them with Rob when the webinar is over, but I want to give you some time, give you your day back. And congratulations for getting through tax season. And we're going to make sure that you have a much better one next year. So woo, woo. All right, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.